Well, Red Strauss 97, who stopped by and told me about this. This is a very interesting upload, and there are several discussion points that I could actually probably segue into from this upload alone. Things that I don't think I've ever talked about on the channel. And one is, well, I've discussed OnlyFans briefly, but to the perspective of a female, and in this case, it's the YouTuber Lady Decade, she seems very angry in this upload that there are a lot of people that stop by her channel. And I don't know if it's a lot of people, maybe it was just a couple people, I'm not sure. But she claims that there's these people that have stopped by her channel and have asked her and told her that she could make more money on OnlyFans. And she seems very angry about that. Very angry about that. Now, she seems angry about it. I don't know exactly how angry she can be. I've always told you all that when it comes to YouTubers, there's always this confliction, you know? And you always have to really kind of like think about things all the way through and try to determine whether or not things YouTubers say is truthful and honest or not. Now, she might be honestly very annoyed at it, but I just personally don't believe that she is as angry as she lets on to be. I think she plays it up a little bit in the upload. Not saying it's not rude. I personally think it's incredibly rude to stop by a channel. And, you know, you got a creator that, you know, in the case of her, I haven't seen a lot of her uploads. I've actually just seen this one. But I'm assuming she talks about retro games a lot. And imagine how rude it would be to be a female that, you know, has a passion for retro games, wants to talk about retro games and stuff like that. And to have guys come to your channel and bring up that you should do OnlyFans. That's rude. That is very rude. And I agree with her that people should not be doing that and asking her those kind of things, you know? Yeah, I mean, what else can you say, right? I think men should be respectful, you know? I think we should have a return to people being more gentlemanly, right? I say this as a person that, you know, I'm a gentleman on the streets, but I'm kind of a freak in the sheets, if you know what I'm saying, right? That's one reason I get the amount of trim that I do, is because I respect females. Until, you know, nighttime is what I'm saying, okay? Just being honest here. Not a married man. Yeah, don't have kids. So, yeah, I'm just having some fun right now. Maybe one day I'll get to the point where I'm married and then I find a lady. And I hope, if and when that day comes, I find a lady that has the humor of Lady Decade. She's a very funny lady. There's points in this upload where I just fell out laughing. At one point, she mentions her vagine, and I legit, I about lost it. Okay, so she has a gift of humor that her husband seemingly does not have. Her husband, by the way, is Top Hat Gaming Man, who we've discussed on the channel before from time to time. And, yeah, so to reiterate, I think it's messed up. It is wrong for people to stop by her comment section and disrespect her by asking her about the OnlyFans. That being said, let's segue into the next thing, where she talks about the success of her channel and how her channel is kind of blown up, and people stating that the only reason she is doing well is she is a female and she is showing cleavage in her uploads. I don't think that's the case. As I just stated, I think she's pretty personable. She's kind of funny. I would take a venture of guess that it's probably her personality, which is why, you know, more people are paying attention to her. She's kind of funny, you know, and it's kind of rare to find someone just in general that's just, you know, can be kind of funny, right? Now, it is true that she makes up a small percentage of retro gamers, because most retro gamers are usually male. It's like you got to have some self-awareness, though, I'll say. That they're all percentages that play a factor, I think, in the growth of a channel. There's all percentages. Like, for instance, let's say she uploads this about OnlyFans, and she grows a lot from an upload like this, or it becomes like viral. then wouldn't it be fair to say that, the topic itself, OnlyFans and her being a retro gamer talking about it, led to, her growth? I don't think we get to dictate and claim that, oh, this is the reason, and this is the reason, and this is the reason of my growth. The thing about YouTube channel growth is there's a lot of different factors that go into it. A lot of different factors. And there's a lot of great channels that just don't seem to have growth. It a lot of times comes down to the algorithms too. There's lots of different things at play. One thing though she talks about is the thumbnails. And I took a look at a lot of the thumbnails, and well, the girls are in a lot of the thumbnails. I mean, they're well done thumbnails. For instance, like this Microsoft 1985 console, there's not a lot of the girls there, but other thumbnails have a lot of the girls. And as a female, you have to have some base level understanding that the girls can control men. The girls, the orbs, they have power. They can control males. They can. So whenever a female comes out, angry, I just don't know. There's just something about it. I'm not saying that she's not annoyed. I don't think she's like angry about it though. I think she's just slightly annoyed. But if you were very angry about it, then okay, here's a good example. The Forgotten 3DO console for grown-ups, 3DO Lewd Edition. And she's showing the girls in that thumbnail. So you're not going to be a little self-aware and say that, well, maybe, and that one got 45K views, which is not too shabby. That's a lot of views for that one. Like, I wonder if you just have the 3DO and, maybe you take yourself out, right? And I don't know, like, I guess I'm just saying that she has a great point. Initially, like I said, people should not be rude. They should not be asking about her starting an OnlyFans. That's a little messed up. There's a lot of guys out there that just do not know how to be respectful to females. But by the other token, I think it's very fair to say that if you are a female and you're putting yourself in the thumbnails, aside from actually just taping yourself or recording yourself, and you happen to be wearing a certain type of gear, if you are actually putting yourself in the thumbnails, displaying parts of yourself, then I think you kind of know that probably is going to affect views in some way, shape, or form. Because guys are guys. All women know this. And this, she says she's a 32-year-old woman. Okay. She knows that a lot of guys are going to be affected by her, putting on makeup, making herself look really nice. I think she's aware of that. But what do you think? Leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. Like I said, there's a lot of different conversation paths that might venture off from this. This is just my initial reaction to it. A lot of you are going to agree with my assessments. A lot of you might not agree. But, they're just my thoughts. There's one hypocrisy here, and it's that she seems very angry. She seems very angry that people would come by and ask her about OnlyFans, and equates that to being a worker of the night. Yet she talks about how there's people that do that for lots of money, and she has nothing against them, or some along those lines. You can't hold those two positions. You can't. It's fairly obvious how she feels about people that are full-time OnlyFans people or strippers. It's fairly obvious how she feels. So if people come by her uploads talking about how they have been a stripper for years, making a lot of money supporting their families, or have an OnlyFans, or something like that, then I wonder how she could kind of like thread that needle, right? It's like, I'm offended. Don't you dare ask me about OnlyFans because I wouldn't do that. Oh, I'm cool with those people though. Those women, hey, more power to them. Huh? What? Now, there's something that happened towards the end of this upload that kind of turned my smile upside down into a frown, because I realized something about this upload that might be the case. Could this whole thing have been constructed to, number one, get views, And number two, get those people that are giving the views to the upload to her Patreon. Okay? I think there's a bit of contradiction here. If you are angry that people suggest that they give you money online on OnlyFans, but the Patreon, you're doing the Patreon plug. So let me get this straight. You in your uploads, your YouTube uploads, talking about retro games, putting a focus. I mean, literally in this upload, maybe there's some self-awareness, maybe there's not. She is framing her buddies. She's putting focus directly on her chestal region in this upload, right? Again, angry, supposedly angry that guys are paying attention? Okay, what? And then she is having the Patreon plug at the end of the upload. I'm just confused here, because you don't want money for the OnlyFans. You don't want people paying attention to you and putting a focus on you and being rude, yet you yourself made a decision in your thumbnails to put a focus there, and at the end of your upload to plug the Patreon, which is a way for people to donate to you online that's not OnlyFans. Oh, but then there's the work, right? The work. Which is creating YouTube hobby uploads for a hobby platform. You even want a coffee there. Same as I've always said. You know, keep your own money. Buy your own coffee. Why should anyone give money to Lady Decade for uploading hobby uploads? Why? It doesn't make any sense. It's just kind of stupid, to be honest. A lot of the same people, would it be fair to say, Lady Decade, that a lot of the same people that are donating to your Patreon would be the same donators to go over to OnlyFans if you had an OnlyFans to donate to the OnlyFans? She plugs her Patreon, and I find this to be kind of odd because she doesn't want people giving her money online to take off her clothing. She would rather people give her money online for uploading YouTube hobby uploads. Okay, right. Now, I'm not equating OnlyFans with Patreon, all right? I mean, it's kind of the same mechanism, though, right? People are donating money to her for something online. They're donating money for something. It is not taking her clothes off. It is talking about retro games while showing cleavage. Started to do a deep dive into this, but to be honest, as a working individual, as someone who gets on YouTube from time to time and tries to do my best to actually entertain, my audience and to give my fair and objective thoughts on things like YouTube videos, this is really troubling to me. It is, because Lady Decade, and I knew that she probably would not be 100% happy with my two-part, thoughts on her upload. That's okay. She is entitled to her own thoughts, her own feelings, her own opinions. She's entitled to it, It's fair. It's fair to question things that someone says in their analysis of your YouTube uploads. But here's what's not fair, and here's what I don't like. She made a post not related to my other tweets today, and to give some background, sadly, there is some weirdo, some creep that apparently she is having some issues with, and I sincerely hope you get that stuff sorted out, Lady Decade. It sounds pretty bad from what I'm reading here, I guess this is just bad timing sometimes. Imagine going through all this stuff and then you get a critical satire upload like mine. So my condolences. But, to be fair, there's a lot of people online doing critical satire uploads. It's not really this thing with just Radical Rick. There's a lot of people that actually will get online and they'll give their fair and objective thoughts on YouTube uploads. People act like there's just something about Radical Rick, and I get it because, I guess it's easy to paint me as, well, I'm not jumping ahead here, but I'll get back to that, and it has to do with, my name. She posted on her Twitter a link to part 2 of my thoughts on her OnlyFans Makes Me Angry YouTube upload. She said, not related to my other tweets today, but extremist YouTuber Radical Rick has uploaded a video about me. Now, I always knew he was a lunatic with warped views about Patreon, but I never knew before how sexist he is. Take a look here. And then she links to part 2. Conveniently not part 1, because there was 2 parts. Part 1 was kind of like, I kind of really didn't get into a lot of the criticism until part 2. Part 1, actually, I'd said some great things about Lady Decade, you know, her uploads. I went into it without, I mean, I'd never heard of the channel. Like, I went into it fairly and objectively, you know, like I do anything. And I gave my honest thoughts. But apparently, when you give your honest thoughts on YouTube uploads, you are an extremist. There's a lot of intelligent people on my channel and in my community, Lady Decade. There is. Have you seen Comment of the Week? I would probably check that out. There's some really intelligent, you know, thoughtful people. But I guess you don't care. I mean, I guess I'm an extremist. I guess everyone here that comes to the channel is an extremist. Now, granted, there's the issues I sometimes get with trolls, and I try to, like, handle that the best I can. Okay? I do. I mean, you're going to get that everywhere. You're going to get the nuts everywhere. And I don't think at any point I ever said that it was not a bad thing that there are people coming to your channel and leaving disgusting comments. Okay? That is terrible. And I think you should deal with those people appropriately. All right? I personally like to keep things classy, specifically when I am... I don't know if there's a perfect way to do it. Like, I try to stay classy, but also I try to be funny for my audience. Hey, you know, it's a hard thing to do. It's not easy like talking about retro video games. That is pretty freaking easy. That's pretty easy, okay? Critical satire of my type is very difficult. Very difficult. And I don't think I get the credit that I deserve sometimes. You know, in the short time frame that I have, because I actually work for a living, you know, I don't live off of Patreon donations, or that's not a big part. You know, the donos. Oh yeah, is that one thing that makes me an extremist? My thoughts and feelings on Patreon and e-beggars? You know? Yeah. I mean, I just thought that it was kind of common sense that YouTubers shouldn't expect donations, but, you know, that's just me. I'm an extremist. Justin Silverman even stopped by and said, dude, congrats. I got like 10 from him. Get your shit together. 10, have I made 10 uploads talking about Justin Silverman? Like, there's people that come to my channel, Justin, and they know a lot more about you than I do. So, me personally, I mean, maybe I've said a couple things about you and everything. Not a whole lot. I don't think anything that's not, you know, fair, right? But it's kind of weird Justin Silverman stopping by. You know, now a lot of people in my community, like, they don't like the direction of AVGN. I mean, what you gonna do though? What you gonna do? There's a lot of people, Justin Silverman, there's a lot of people that criticize AVGN and Greenwave and all that. But there's also some kind things I've said about the nerds, sometimes the uploads, and again, it's kind of difficult what I do on YouTube. It's kind of difficult. It's not the easiest thing in the world. And then Lady Decade has some crying emojis. Let's see here. She says, don't worry, Rick is not a problem. He just embarrasses himself online daily. If anything, he is doing me a favor by just further proving my points made in the original video. Okay. I don't think I was in complete disagreement with that upload. I don't think I was. I can't recall every single thing I said, but I'm pretty sure I was pretty on point. I think the thing that she has the issue with is when I actually bring up, and the thumbnail, I was a little classier because I actually covered stuff up. Again, this is difficult. Like, how do you not be labeled a sexist when you, this is like a minefield. It's like a minefield, right? But I'm not afraid to step on that minefield. I'm not. My general thought is, are people paying attention? I think this is going to be really good. My general thought is, if you are really having an issue if you're having an issue with guys coming to your channel and objectifying you, if you're having that issue with guys, creepy weirdos coming to your channel and objectifying you, here is a thought, okay? How about in a YouTube upload, you don't go out of your way to frame parts of yourself, right? How about you don't do that? It's pretty simple. Pretty simple. There's a lot of guys that came to my comment section, I guess they're all extremists too, saying, well, how do you not know what you're doing? Like, how do you not know? How can you not be self-aware? Like, how do you not? See? It's like the thumbnails. It's kind of like a dead giveaway. Because if you were at all self-aware, Lady Decade, you would know, that because you are a pretty female, you are going to get a lot of people giving you attention. Because you are a pretty female, this comes with being a pretty female. And there's a lot of guys out there that are really sad and they're really lonely, and they're going to come to your YouTube channel and they're going to consider donating to you because of things. I think that's a fair assessment. Not everybody. There's a lot of people that probably come to your channel and they love your channel and they feel that you're worthy of donating money to on your Patreon, which is fucking stupid. That is just fucking stupid. I'm sorry. Like, I can go to where I work, I can ask 100 people, hey, would all of you consider donating to Lady Decade? And they would say no. Donating to YouTubers is just stupid, Rick. Why would we do that? Why would we work hard here and waste our money on YouTubers? That seems to be like the thing that triggers a lot of YouTubers with Patreon the most. The common sense of it. Why? Why do people do it? But yet I'm the extremist for being the guy that comes out and says, yeah, it's stupid. Let me be one of the few YouTubers that does not have a Patreon and never wants to have a Patreon. And one more thing. I tell you what, I was tired. I was very exhausted from the day. I got home and I'm feeling a little better now. You know why? Because sometimes motivation makes me feel better. You got one lick on me. You got one sting on me. You got one zinger of sorts on me, Lady Decade. And I'll be fair, okay? If I was an extremist, when I actually point out that you got one zinger on me that I will try to correct possibly, you said I was spreading misinformation by saying I have a problem with sex workers when I've never once said such a thing. Okay, all right, how about this? Time permitted, because, hey, Justin, just like James Rolfe, I don't know if I have time, since Justin is somehow involved in this. How about I take people on a journey and in specific detail at some point in the future, I outline your contradiction. There might be more than the one contradiction, okay? Time permitted. Again, if I got time. That's a fair point. Saying that, it's lazy Rick content. Hey, I have multiple uploads and I only spend usually an hour. My apologies. I have a day job. This is just kind of a hobby for me, okay? The world will never see what Radical Rick on YouTube could actually be potentially, what I could potentially become, basically. Even that, I kind of flubbed up a little bit there. I don't write a script, but I think a lot of my audience appreciates the fact that, I spend time that I really don't have on YouTube entertaining them. Now, I didn't do myself any favors when I chose to name my channel Radical Rick, because, people can come by and they could easily point and say, that guy's an extremist because he's a radical, right? But, I love the Ninja Turtles. Maybe I could actually incorporate a Ninja Turtle in the logo. That might actually fix things, because I don't like being called an extremist. But I think it's really easy for people that actually just want to disregard my actual legit criticism and just say, well, that guy, he's a radical. Oh, radical and everything. How about I just put maybe a Ninja Turtle in my logo? Thoughts? Would anyone be cool with that? Because I get really sick and tired of being called, an extremist, just because part of my YouTube name is Radical. Okay, so one last thing. the core of my criticism, I think, on that Lady Decade upload was that she kind of overdid her anger, whereas I thought she wasn't like that angry about it. If you're that angry about some people coming to your channel and leaving some gross comments, then, would you continue to kind of like, not egg it on, but would you actually in an upload like frame yourself? Would you do literally like with your arms you framed yourself? I mean, would you do that? I don't think you would. And you know what I base that on? I base that on my history of knowing women my entire life. Like, I was raised by women. I know women. I know more how women think. I could actually have some uploads explaining to the fellas how women think. I know a lot more about women than your average male, so when I see it, okay, it's a woman actually that maybe is at a 2 or a 3 on annoyance, taking it to 9 or 10 for a YouTube upload. The ironic thing is, I feel that things escalated very quickly, because if she actually had a post after really kind of looking at my uploads fairly and objectively, as I looked at her upload fairly and objectively, she would leave a link to part 1 and 2, not just part 2. And that's my fault for cutting it up in 2 parts. I was just kind of like, Justin Silverman, hey, you and James, you know what it's like. I didn't have enough time to finish everything at once. I should have. And, she was an opportunist because she left a link to post 2, part 2. So a bit sneaky there, I think, admittedly, a bit sneaky. Because I'll tell you what, if she left a link to part 1, then there really wouldn't be much of this hubbub over it. Because part 1 was actually the part where I was saying some really nice positive things about her and her channel. But I guess the thing is, it's hard to label me as an extremist and a lunatic if you're going to actually, post part 1 and 2 and kind of actually just give people the full experience, right? But part 2, yeah, that was where I became a little more critical. But here's what I think. I think I spoke the truth, as I always do. And hey, Lady Decade, it is your right to post whatever you'd like to and give your thoughts. More power to you. Okay, girl power to you. More power to you. But you know what? It's also my right to get on here and defend myself when I'm called terrible names. I believe that anyone on YouTube or, Twitter, as the case may be, anyone should feel free to give their own thoughts about things, about people, without being called an extremist. But she did call me an extremist and a lunatic for giving my thoughts on a YouTube upload that she uploaded to YouTube that I'm guessing she wanted thoughts on. She made the choice to upload that talking about OnlyFans and how she feels about OnlyFans, how she would never do it, but we'll get into that in a moment. Well, I say a moment, but this might be kind of long. First off, we're going to start off by looking at and criticizing her tweets, if I'm allowed to do that without being called a lunatic and extremist. Of course, she tweeted, not related to my other tweets today, but extremist YouTuber Radical Rick has uploaded a video about me. Now, I always knew he was a lunatic with warped views, Patreon, but I never once knew how sexist he is. Take a look here. Now, what's interesting about this tweet is, she said she always knew that I was a lunatic. That would infer that she had some prior history on the channel, which is kind of odd because, correct me if I'm wrong here, but has Lady Decade ever been on my channel in the comment section? That leads me to believe that this was actually typed by her husband. Is that a fair assessment? Right? So there I've just kind of exposed that this wasn't even really her tweet. It was either her husband or a joint tweet, right? It just seems like that's kind of weird that she would call me an extremist and a lunatic without any prior history with me and conversing with me. This being said, Top Hat Gaming Man, her hubby, came by the comment section for a little while. We had, I thought to be like some, civil conversations in the comment section. Not everyone was civil with him, but I was civil. The opposite of what I would call a lunatic. Then she says, as per usual, he is spreading misinformation by saying I have a problem with sex workers when I never said once such a thing. Well, here's the thing, Lady Decade. I never said that. You specifically said you have a problem with sex workers. But we'll actually get to the first minute of my part 2 in a minute, and we'll see if you're right here, you know, by saying that I said that you had a problem with sex workers. Typical lazy Rick content, laugh out loud, stay radical. Well, I think I can make an argument here that that's kind of lazy to, you know, spread the misinformation that I said you have a problem with sex workers. You didn't actually quote me. There's no quotes there. And the last tweet here, this is a whopper. He makes a safe haven on YouTube for toxic idiots who all bask in their joint envy and vitriol, getting more and more bitter at anyone who does well and earns money from ad revenue and receives support from patrons. Can you point me, Lady Decade, to the upload where I get angry and bitter at Scott the Woz, who is very successful on YouTube, and he is a YouTube partner? Can you point to that? I mean, I'll actually give you some props here. If you can point to an upload to where I'm angry and bitter at a YouTube partner like Scott the Woz being successful on a platform. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it? I don't think you did your research. Maybe you need an education there. All right? There's a clear distinction between being a YouTube partner and making money, in my eyes, in my view and the views of many other people, the correct way by being a YouTube partner with YouTube ad revenue. Getting support from your audience, getting donations from your audience. Not everyone feels the same way I and many other people do, but many people feel that it is e-begging. So it's fair to call you, Top Hat Gaming Man, and anyone that uses Patreon for their retro gaming channels to get donations, it's very fair to call them e-beggars. Otherwise, you know, then what's the definition for e-beggar? Right? If it's not taking donations from your own audience online, what exactly is e-begging? What is it? You know? Now, there's different levels of it, and that's one thing we discuss on the channel, but I'm just curious, is even having the discussion on things like e-begging, does that make everyone an extremist? Is that where we're at now? We're just discussing things like e-begging and donations like you're an extremist? How far are we away from, you know, just 5-10 years ago on YouTube when, you know, if you had a system where you're getting donations, you were the extremist? Does anyone remember this? Does anyone recall this? Okay? Am I the only one that remembers this, right? But I guess anyone who criticizes e-begging right now is an extremist, you know? So here's what we're going to do here. We're going to go to the first minute of part 2, my extremist upload, and we're going to listen to what exactly I say. There's one hypocrisy here, and it's that she seems very angry. She seems very angry that people would come by and ask her about OnlyFans, and equates that to being a worker of the night. Yet she talks about how there's people that do that for lots of money and she has nothing against them, or some along those lines. You can't hold those two positions. You can't. It's fairly obvious how she feels about people that are full-time OnlyFans people or strippers. It's fairly obvious how she feels. So if people come by her uploads talking about how they have been a stripper for years, making a lot of money supporting their families, or have an OnlyFans, or something like that, then I wonder how she could kind of like thread that needle, right? It's like, I'm offended. Don't you dare ask me about OnlyFans because I wouldn't do that. Oh, I'm cool with those people though. Those women, hey, more power to them. Huh? What? Alright, so here's the thing, Lady Decade. When I pull this off successfully, when I prove that you're actually a liar and a hypocrite, here's what you don't need to do. You don't need to have a tweet saying that I'm angry, hateful, and I hate women, and all that, blah, blah, blah. Because I know that's the next card you're going to pull out. You're going to pull out the female card. I'm waiting for it. I mean, to me, it doesn't matter if you're male or female. It doesn't matter. You know? It's all about equality in 2021. Genders don't exist in 2021. It's all about equality. So, if you upload something to YouTube, guess what? YouTube critics, at times like myself, can actually criticize those uploads. I know that's a crazy lunatic concept, isn't it? Let's break into this tweet. Also, per usual, he is spreading misinformation by saying I have a problem with sex workers when I have never once said such a thing. That's kind of funny. If you listen to that, I never said specifically that you have a problem with sex workers. That's a statement that you made. I never said that. So, talking about typical lazy Rick content, hey, typical lazy Lady Decade tweets. Here's what you did say, though. And I don't think you specifically have a problem with the fact that women are making money on OnlyFans. I don't think you have a problem with that because, I mean, you know, you're making money on Patreon, so I don't think you have a problem with women making money on OnlyFans or, you know, sex workers, prostitutes, or whatever it would be. Now, I didn't make that link. I didn't make that escalation. The core of this comes from a joke that you made that is probably going to insult a lot of people that have used OnlyFans. And that was equating, you know, people coming to your YouTube channel asking you if you're going to start an OnlyFans up to someone in the street approaching you and saying that you're a good-looking lady, you know, and how about you consider prostitution? Whoa, that's an escalation, wouldn't you say? Well, you know, do you have a self-awareness? Do you have a self-awareness to understand that you make a statement like that, equating OnlyFans to prostitution? Then it's fair for other people to actually, you know, see that and speak on that and prove to you that that's kind of a, I would say, an extremist statement. That's where I want to finish up on. Actually, Lady Decade is an extremist because she has actually equated anyone that's ever used OnlyFans as a sex worker, a prostitute. You know, giving BJ's behind a store for cash. You made that distinction. You made that escalation. You made that extremist statement. Plot twist, huh? All you're going to do is make me more powerful if you're going to write comments about me on here, or if you're going on other people's videos and write comments about me, all you're doing is drawing me more attention. And you know what, if you're lucky, I might respond and then I might screenshot it and put it on my Twitter feed, and then I shall have a laugh at your expense, and my followers on Twitter shall have a laugh at your expense, and I will get more subscribers, I will get more patrons. In fact, that's something I have a lot of abuse purely for having a Patreon. So if you want to bask in the sweet, salty tears of people that don't like the fact that I've got a Patreon, then please consider contributing $2 a month to my channel. There's lots of lovely, lovely things that happen when you sign up to people's Patrons, and the main and most amazing thing of all is making people cry who don't like YouTubers being supported by patrons. I'll stop right there. Now, what I just read you right there from the closed captioning was actually the words of one Lady Decade. And now I guess her big thing is she's trying to get people to join her Patreon for just $2 a month on the reasoning, because I don't really see much reasoning from a consumer perspective. I think it's kind of stupid to give this person $2 a month on Patreon, you know, for her hobby uploads on YouTube. I'm speaking as a consumer here. I'm not hateful, I'm not angry, I'm not salty. I'm just speaking from a consumer standpoint. I think it's literally fucking stupid to give this stranger online $2 a month for uploading her hobby uploads about video games. Does that trigger a lot of people? Me speaking the truth? That is the truth. It is stupid. Most people, 99.9% of people, if you walked up to them on the street and you said, "Hey, I've got a pitch for you. How about giving $2 of your dollars that you just earned to this person right here?" They would look at you like, what? Why? And then you would have to go into this long pitch about how it's actually, you know, it makes sense. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't, you know? I mean, $2 is not a lot of money. It's like a cup of coffee, maybe half a cup of coffee. I get it, but it's still kind of stupid. Under no circumstances would I donate $2 to Lady Decade or Top Hat Gaming Man for their uploads. Maybe this makes them angry. Maybe it makes them angry that there's a lot of people out there that actually would laugh at that idea. So it's weird that they talk about, well, she talks about, you know, having a healthy laugh at people on her Twitter feed or something to that extent, when the fact of the matter is, you know, there's a lot to laugh at when it comes to e-beggars. Now, some of you might say, Lady Decade is not an e-beggar. Oh, au contraire. Having a Patreon, asking for money online, that qualifies you rightly as an e-beggar. I don't have a Patreon. I don't ask for money. And if there's anyone out there that did not know exactly that this is an e-beggar, right here is all the proof you need. It's all the proof you need, because she's actually using the idea that criticism, and she says abuse. I don't know what you mean by like abuse. People criticizing you for your channel, which is a healthy thing. Criticism is a very healthy thing. Questions about a Patreon, you know, just simple questions about, hey, you know, where's the money going? What proof do we have if we donate to your Patreon that it's actually going into your channel? I think those are fair questions, right? So she's talking about abuse. She's talking about how she doesn't like abuse, but then she does, though, because she says all you're actually doing is adding to her subscriber numbers. You're getting her attention. So I'm confused here. It's almost like she's in direct conflict with her own self here. She's in direct conflict. She might classify, you know, this criticism and this upload as abuse. She might put it up on her Twitter, like, look at this crazy, psychotic abuser, Radical Rick, you know? She might say that. Now, she's saying it's a lovely idea. It's a lovely idea to give her $2 a month because it might make people angry that criticize her. Does that make any sense whatsoever? You know? So we're going away from the idea that, okay, your YouTube hobby uploads is the reasoning that you deserve $2 a month. Now she's basically letting it slip that she doesn't care. You know, she doesn't care for what reasons you give her money for. It doesn't matter, you know? Isn't that interesting how that works? That's how e-begging works, ladies and gentlemen. That's how e-begging works, specifically on YouTube. One final thought here. I'm wondering, did you leave this opening because you thought that it would be beneficial to you there, Lady Decade? Are you even aware at the opening that you left for someone like myself? Let's see here. Let's pry open that opening there. I'm always told by people that Patreon connected to a YouTube channel is not e-begging. I'm told this constantly by content creators, right? Top Hat Gaming Man, you know, was one person last year told me that it wasn't e-begging, right? It's supposed to be set up professionally where people can donate specifically for the YouTube uploads. But then I bring into question all of that. You know, that the Patreon donations, how do we know they're directly going to the creation of YouTube uploads? How do we know that people aren't just donating just because, well, other reasons, right? And it's a weird thing because I can't get a clear answer on that. If you go out somewhere and you buy something in a store, or you go to a movie, guess what? You're paying that $10 to go see that movie. Not equating actual real movies to what these YouTubers produce. But it's pretty much understood that that money is going for a specific thing. So Patreon's supposed to be set up in a way to where, hey, you upload some uploads talking about video games, you know, you have a Patreon set up where people can actually donate money to see more of that. But now you basically expose yourself in that you are now wanting money and donations because you want to somehow have a laugh at the expense at people criticizing you. Literally, she is talking about how you should probably consider donating $2 a month to her for the salty tears of other people, right? I mean, why did you leave this opening? Why did you? Is there like a strategy there? I don't understand it, because pretty much that deconstructs every single reason. All the reasoning for donating to YouTubers right here, you kind of expose yourself. Because you don't care if people donate to you because they like the uploads. You just want people's money. It's not about the YouTube channel. Lady Decade just wants donations. These e-beggars just want donations. If it was about the channel, if it was about the content, if you actually want donations just for the content, you wouldn't be pulling the stunt. You're literally pulling a manipulative stunt, and you're actually trying to use the criticism of you, which you call abuse. You're trying to use criticism to actually have a fundraising effort off of that. You aren't the only one. I mean, last year, I think it was last year, when I criticized Silent Rob for his e-begging, he got on the live streams and he said, hey, basically, you know, it's going to make Radical Rick angry. Let me tell you what. It doesn't make me angry. I don't get angry. I laugh at stupidity. You know, you are sadly mistaken, Lady Decade, if you feel that I have been angered by anything that you've ever said or done. This is a form. This is critical satire. This is me and my type of uploads that I don't e-beg for. I will never e-beg for. But I do call out e-beggars. Okay? So, yeah, that's some thoughts on Lady Decade, who is now, like I said, trying to fundraise off of being criticized. You know, one of my hallmarks is being fair and objective. People have called me a variety of things online, and this individual, Lady Decade, called me some names on Twitter, you know, made broad generalizations about me, although she said in this upload, they say I'm a fake gamer girl, that's a bad thing, for people to not make broad generalizations. But I hope she actually realizes that I'm a fairly reasonable individual, you know, and when it comes to criticism of YouTube uploads, which is, you know, one thing I do with my work here, you know, because uploads are work on YouTube apparently, right? Nah, I just kind of talk about things, you know. She puts together little mini documentaries, her and Top Hat. They're not that bad, you know. The Venus one, I got about a minute into that, Lady Decade, and then I just said, fuck it, you know. You got your 2-minute Raid Shadow Legend plug there. You know, you said apparently you've hit the big time, so now you're going to show for Raid Shadow Legends. I mean, did it have to be Raid Shadow Legends? Yeah, you know. So I tried there. I did. There's some points of agreement I have with her, believe it or not, in this upload. There's a funny bit, and sometimes I actually enjoy it when she actually, you know, she can be a little funny. She can be, right? She says something about some people that leave her hate comments, you know, and there's a variety of comments. There's some actually that I would probably see and be like, okay, those are actually kind of hate comments. And some are very good critical comments, you know. But to some of these people, she said that they are probably losers and live in their parents' basement. And I've never seen a naked woman. I'm like, okay, actually, probably some of these people have probably never seen a naked woman, you know. I mean, probably even some people that have came by and will leave comments under this upload have probably never seen a naked woman. I see lots of naked women, you know. So, I mean, talking about measures of success, you know. My channel's not as big as this person's, by the way. You know, she's a bigger channel in numbers, but I've seen a lot of naked women. Oh, wait. Will that be seen as chauvinistic? Possibly. Probably, by a lot of females. But it's okay. It's all right. Now, as to this thing, the title of her upload, they say I'm a fake gamer girl, there was a couple people left comments in my comment section, and I said to them, you know, what does it mean to be a real gamer? Like, what does that mean? It's kind of like a question about e-begging, you know? Whereas a lot of people have different thoughts on what e-begging is, and there's actually a definitive answer on what e-begging is. It actually is taking donations online for things like hobby videos. That's actually what e-begging is. So what does it mean to be a real gamer? It's a little harder, you know, to actually determine what it means to be a real gamer. Let's say someone plays only mobile games, but they're the best at every single mobile game. Would you classify that person as a real gamer because they don't have a console? Now, what if somebody is great at console games, but they have never had a fully maxed out PC? You know, they're not part of the glorious master PC race. Would you say that person's not a real gamer? You know, everyone has their definitions for what a real gamer means. And whenever a lot of people see a female that talks about a lot of games on YouTube, there seems to be, not in all cases, but there seems to be from a lot of males, I guess they make the female kind of jump through some hoops a lot of the time because in most cases, a lot of females don't play games. And this happens in real life too. I mean, I'm even like guilty of it sometimes. I'm talking to a female and she mentions that she, plays Zelda. And I look at her like, really? What games do you play? And you don't even really realize you're doing it, right? So it must be annoying for a lot of females to actually, when it comes to males to actually make you jump through the hoops. Not that I've ever done that. I've just kind of been curious sometimes. But when it comes to the Switch, it's a platform not a lot of females play on, so it doesn't surprise me if a female tells me that they play a lot of Zelda. But if they tell me they play certain other series, I'm thinking, it's interesting. That's really cool, though. I mean, it is really freaking cool if you meet a female that is into games, into, wrestling, into a lot of different things like that. So it's hard to determine 100%. I mean, people can make their accusations. It's hard to determine 100% if this is a person that actually is a real gamer girl. And again, what does that really even mean? I mean, my definition of being a real gamer is someone that probably plays games regularly and is reasonably decent at video games. Now, some people have told her she probably needs to maybe get on Twitch or show herself playing video games. But I don't believe that. I don't. I personally don't, because it's her business or anyone else's business if they want to show themselves playing games or not. Unless they try to sell themselves off as a master gamer or something like that. Now that's different. But a lot of people seem to think, there's people that come to my comment section, and no one has a definitive answer on this. No one does. People can make their assumptions one way or the other, but unless we live in that household, we don't know. Hell, maybe Lady Decade is better at video games than Top Hat Gaming Man. We're not sure. We don't know. But a lot of people do think that she's kind of like a mouthpiece for Top Hat Gaming Man, and she basically mostly holds the camera, and he writes her scripts. There's no way of knowing that. Now, if that was the case, though, and she tried to, make it seem like I just don't care. I'll just be honest. Like, other people might care. But when it comes to me, I care about people mostly lying and manipulating and doing e-begging, It's kind of like the end of that where she transitioned to the e-begging, and you could actually make an argument that maybe a lot of this was actually so she could talk for a while, garner some sympathy for all the, hate comments, and then switch around and have the Patreon plug. That would be the second time she probably did this if that was the case. Because, all the people going to her channel talking about OnlyFans, it's almost like there's a narrative here. I mean, it's like if she keeps doing these, then you can kind of point to it and you can kind of just guess that there's going to be a Patreon plug at some point.